So, trading today was total bush league, not because I lost money, but because I completely lost my discipline. I broke my rules, held and hoped, added to losers, and went full tilt trying to not miss the move. This is probably the best example I've had yet of how not to trade. I had been doing really well overall, and sometimes when you do well, you get relaxed and you think everything's going to work, and before you know it, you've completely abandoned your plan. Now, luckily, I trade really small share size right now, just 1 to 200 shares. So, even though this got ugly, the damage stayed manageable. But that's honestly part of why I'm making this video, because if I was trading max size here, this is the kind of emotional trading that can blow up an account. And the sad part is that I actually ended up being right about the stock eventually fading. But by the time the move finally happened, I was so emotionally compromised that I couldn't execute it properly. So as you can see, this stock had already halted up once. Big momentum, very strong. A lot of traders are looking long here, but I noticed a pretty strong rejection on volume near the highs, and I'm thinking that this thing might finally fade. So I short it here at 223, looking for a flush down. As you can see, it does start working a little bit, but then immediately starts pushing back up. Now, my rule here is simple. If I'm not right immediately, I cut my loss quickly. But instead, what do? I hold and I hope. And holding and hoping is not a strategy, that's rookie league trading. It pushes higher, closer to the high of the day. And instead of stopping out, what do I do here? I add to my position. And honestly, this is where bad habits get reinforced because this time it ended up working. But there's a very good chance that this could have broken through that high of day, pushed higher, and now what was supposed to be a small, manageable loss that I cut immediately becomes a very big loss that's harder to rebound from. So the stock does start rolling back over here. So what was once a loser now is starting to work in my favor. So I'm just holding here, hoping that it comes back down lower. And I do have this sped up because this would be an extremely long video if I didn't. So that's why everything's moving so quickly. So this does find a little bit of support at the 9 EMA, but luckily it does not continue higher. It does hold here for a little bit. I get scared right there on that little bounce up and cover half of my shares. So those were covered at a loss from the 223 up to 240. However, I'm still holding the 246s where I had added to my position. It chops around a little bit and then gets a nice flush down to the 20 EMA. I'm looking for it to break below the 20 and it seems to be holding there, so I cover those shares. And so overall on that trade, even though it was a loser at one point, it comes back to be a small winner. But the problem is breaking rules and getting rewarded is dangerous because it reinforces bad habits. So here I am getting back into a trade, thinking now that, hey, maybe the 9 EMA is going to be the new resistance. And so I take a short and add to my position almost immediately, thinking I'm going to be right. And the stock immediately pops back up. And so I covered half of my position there for a decent sized loss, and then I hold the other 100 shares just in case it fades. And again, that's not a strategy, that's hope. And so I'm holding here, hoping that it fades. It doesn't, it's staying pretty strong. I try to get out there and can't get filled, and then boom, a huge push higher past the high of the day. And just like that, I'm down 40 bucks. Now, this is the real turning point because at this moment, I'm frustrated, I'm emotional, I'm forcing trades. This is where I needed to pause, stop trading, reset, get grounded. But instead, what do? I kept trading. And now I'm entering one of the most dangerous mindsets in trading. I know this thing is eventually going to reject, and if I miss it after already losing money, I'm going to be so mad. That's the mindset that's a trap because now I'm not trading clean setups anymore. I'm chasing emotional validation. So I take another short here, and we actually got a little bit of a rejection. So I start feeling okay again, but then it starts bouncing back up. And as you can see, I stop out at basically break even. I then decide to place a limit order above $3 because a lot of times these momentum stocks will spike above a whole dollar, but then immediately fail. So I'm basically trying to predict the exact top. I get filled at 320, but it doesn't reject immediately like I had hoped. So what should I do? I should cut the loss. But again, I'm emotionally compromised now, so I hold and I hope, and it does finally start to come back down near $3. We get a topping candle, high volume rejection, and even though it's not really flushing, I hold because I don't want to miss the move lower, but instead it just slowly creeps higher again. And now instead of taking a small win, I let it come all the way back. And again, I'm holding and hoping, even though this is showing quite a bit of momentum higher. It's showing strength. It's not putting in lower lows. So I finally stop out here for a small loss. And honestly, it's a good thing I did because right after I stopped out, it broke the high of day and ripped quite a bit higher. Now I'm frustrated even more. I'm over trading. I'm forcing it, still trying to guess the top. I hop in again at around 350 and instantly get stopped out for another loss. At this point, I have completely lost the plot. I'm now down $60 on this stock, and I short a dip here, which is completely backwards because buyers are actively buying every dip. Right after I enter, what does it do? It pops right back up again. And instead of stopping out, I make the decision to add to my position. Right after I add, it rips towards $4. Now let's slow the video down here because this is how accounts get blown up. As it pushes towards $4, I'm down about $140 right now. And luckily, because I'm trading such small share size, that's not a huge deal. But if I was trading big here, this could easily be thousands of dollars. And the worst part is, at this point, I don't really even have a stop. I'm literally just hoping that it doesn't break $4. That's not trading, that's called gambling. And thankfully, luckily, it fails at 4 and finally started flushing down. I finally got the move that I'd been anticipating all day. But by now, I'm emotionally cooked, so instead of calmly managing the winner, I'm in loss mitigation mode. So I cover some of the shares at 365 because I'm worried about it ripping back up. And just like that, it keeps going down, pushing towards the 9 EMA. I end up covering the rest of the shares there as it bounces off the 9 EMA. And so I go from being down 140 to only being down about $45 on the day. Shortly after I covered my shares, this stock broke the 9 EMA and it ended up flushing all the way back down towards $2. The exact move that I had been looking for all day finally happened, and it happened without me because I had already tilted, overtraded, and emotionally compromised myself. I couldn't hold for the real move. This video is honestly a perfect example of how not to trade. The biggest issue wasn't the loss, it was that I completely abandoned my process. So, tomorrow, the goal isn't revenge, the goal is emotion regulation, better entries, patience, and getting back to the rules as quickly as possible. So, can I stick to the rules tomorrow, or am I going to keep sucking? Tune in next video to find out.